Today's going to be a fun one. We're talking about emotional intelligence today, specifically in regards to building stronger relationships. Now, I don't just mean intimate relationships with your partner, I'm talking about friendships, business relationships, whatever it may be. And it's funny that I'm making a video talking about emotional intelligence because I am still trying to figure it all out. I'm still trying to understand myself emotionally and navigate myself emotionally and become better. But I have made mistakes. I have learned lessons thus far. And I believe that we can learn by avoiding people's stupidity as opposed to just trying to figure out what they did right. So, the reason I'm making this video, despite not being all the way emotionally intelligent, despite me not having the greatest relationships built in my life, the reason I'm making the video is because I want you to avoid and be aware of some of the things that I so far have found fundamental, and I want you to avoid some of my downfalls. And hopefully, in avoiding my downfalls, you can just become better. So, I need you to understand that your emotional intelligence, or we'll call it EQ, is your ability to recognize, understand, and control your emotions, while also understanding and being able to influence the emotions of others. Okay? And I know when I talk about influence, people have such a terrible label to associate with it. Like, oh, you're being manipulative. No, it's if someone's sad and you can influence them to be happy, I'd say that's a good deal. So it doesn't just have to be a bad label when I talk about influence, right? It's nowadays it's tied to manipulation, dark psychology, and all that bad stuff. But it doesn't have to be all of that. So it's literally the difference between being a reactive person, which I've been, let me tell you, I've been in situations where I've been overly reactive. Still learning as I go. But it's the difference between someone that's reactive and someone who is the type of person who can just stay calm under pressure. The type of person that can communicate effectively. The type of person that can just navigate relationships like a pro. Okay, so to break it down, emotional intelligence has just about 5 core components. I'll talk about them. We'll talk about self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, social skills. So the first one, and then towards the end of it, I kind of want to talk about some things that have helped me in regards to intimate relationships, or things that I've noticed, and I hope that it'll help you as well. First one is self-awareness. Now, I'd say that the foundation of every emotionally intelligent individual is self-awareness. If you don't recognize what you're feeling, then you definitely can't control it. Most people walk through life completely blind to their own emotions. They get angry, they don't even know why. They just label it as anger. They can't restructure it and say, I feel frustrated because, right? They feel anxious, but they don't really stop to question where it's coming from. Usually, there's something that triggers anxiety, and I believe that, and I mentioned that in my previous videos. So how do you even develop self-awareness? Well, you can start by just observing yourself in real time. That's a big step. If you can observe yourself in real time, the next time you feel a strong emotion, you just ask yourself, what exactly am I feeling? Where is this emotion coming from? How is this emotion influencing my action? I think journaling is a powerful tool. I think a lot of neuroscientists have done studies that found that when you write about your emotions, it activates the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain that's responsible for rational thinking. The simple act of writing, something like, I feel frustrated because, what it does is it forces your brain to analyze the emotion instead of just reacting to it. Because as you're writing, you're actively trying to find a conclusion. You're trying to take things in your head, put it on a piece of paper. It's the same thing, right? Some people pour it into their work. Some people pour it into videos. I make videos about it. That's me. So self-awareness. Just be fully aware of how you're feeling. If you're feeling an emotion, you have to understand, right now, I'm angry. Why? Maybe I'm just frustrated. What's happening here? And try to find a because. You have to attach something to it. You can't just say, oh, I feel overwhelmed. Well, why? Don't say, I don't know. It could be a lot of things. And maybe there's so many things that you say you don't know. But if you're feeling overwhelmed, say, I'm overwhelmed because of my work, because of my family, because of this, my bills, and this. because at least that way you associate, you identify all the emotions and you associate a reason as to why the emotions are here. And that helps you just create an understanding and a level of self-awareness. Helps you move forward as well. So the second stage is self-regulation, which is where we actually master our emotions. Now, just because you're aware doesn't necessarily mean you know how to control them. This is where I talk about controlling your psychology, which I still have a problem with. I think it's a very difficult task to pull off. This is exactly where self-regulation comes in. It's simply the ability to feel anger without lashing out. It's the ability to feel anxiousness without shutting down. It's the ability to stay calm when everything around you is falling apart. There's this really powerful technique. It's called the 5-second emotional pause. Before reacting spontaneously to any situation, take 5 seconds to breathe and reflect. Ask, is my response going to improve or damage this situation? You'd be shocked at how many arguments, bad decisions, and regrets can be avoided if people just took 5 seconds to just pause before they react. Speaking from personal experience here, okay? I could have prevented a lot of things if I just slowed my roll, if I just stayed calm, if I just, okay, let me breathe. I'm human after all. We're emotional creatures. When we're emotional creatures, sometimes the emotions get the best of us. So avoid my mistakes. Another powerful method is cognitive reframing. And I know that's a big word. It's like a triple point Scrabble word. But instead of saying this situation is terrible, you can ask yourself, how can this be an opportunity in this challenge? What's the opportunity? Instead of saying, I failed, say, I've learned something valuable. Hey, words matter, man. How you describe your emotions directly affect how they control you. They matter to a degree. But I will kind of add a sub note to that, which is a lot of people say, watch your words. They're like spells. If you say, I'm lazy, I'm lazy, I'm lazy, maybe you will be lazy. But I believe they're just words. I think what actually impacts you is if there's belief. You can say, I'm a loser, I'm lazy, I suck at everything. But if you don't believe it, they're just empty words, backed with no belief, which means no action. Nothing will come as a result of those words spoken. It's like setting big goals and saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, but you don't even believe you're going to do it. You don't even believe you'll get there. So your actions won't directly correlate. So I would say be mindful of the words that you speak, be mindful of the things that you say about yourself, but be even more mindful if you believe the bad things you say about yourself. Be even more mindful, okay? Third one is motivation, which is a little bit strange, but I'd say this is kind of like the secret. A lot of people think motivation is just about willpower. It's not. It's about emotional intelligence. Most of the time, highly emotionally intelligent people don't really need to rely on these fleeting, fluctuating bursts of motivation. They create emotional triggers that keep them going. A method, you can set an emotional goal. Instead of saying something like, I want to lose weight, just say, I want to lose weight because I feel sluggish and out of control. And say you refuse to. See the difference now? One is just a statement, the other is an emotional reason that kind of ignites that. You refuse to be sluggish, you refuse to be out of control for the rest of your life. So it's an emotional reason. It ignites that flame as opposed to I want to lose weight. That's called your why. And I'm big on that word why. Why everything? Question why. Why do you do what you do? Why do you think what you want? Why do you think what you think? Why do you want what you want? Now, once we have that understood, we have something called empathy. Listen to me. If you want to master relationships, business relationships, personal relationships, intimate relationships, you gotta have empathy. This separates great people from average people. Empathy is the ability to step into someone else's shoes and feel what they feel. Maybe you can't live their life and fully understand, but you can definitely feel it. If I have any people watching my videos that are empathetic, There's this picture. I'll try to describe it, but it's how empathetic people feel. And it's one person holding another person's hand, and the person has a knife through the heart, and that person saying, "You'll never understand." And the empathetic person is holding their hand and saying, "Yeah, dot dot dot." And they have millions of knives all over their body, right? If you're empathetic, like you feel like, oh my gosh, like you have a vivid imagination. You're like, that is terrible. And you really try to put yourself in their shoes. And that's great. Listen, without empathy, you'll struggle to connect with people on a deep level. Without connections, relationships suffer. Your business relationships, your intimate relationships, your personal relationships. A simple, a simple technique is called perspective mirroring. The next time someone is upset, instead of thinking about how you feel, ask yourself, if I were them, experiencing their exact life, how would I feel right now? And that simple mental shift changes everything. Again, I am speaking from experience and mistakes made so far in my life. Sometimes I made it too much about me, not about the other person. Sucks. Still working on it. But I want to tell you guys this because please avoid my mistakes. Being empathetic means you're not just transactional, you're there for the relationship. You're there to understand, you care to understand. I give this, I like giving this example, which is let's say you have a friend, so it's you two. Let's say you lost your dog and it wasn't that big of a deal to you. It's just a dog. You have more pressing matters at hand, like paying the bills, taking care of people you love. And let's say your friend has a dog that died and your friend breaks down and is boo-hooing crying. Someone that's not empathetic will say, dude, it's just a dog, move on. Like, hey, that's not empathetic. I know to you losing a dog wasn't that hard, but what about to them? It must have felt like the end of the world to them. And if you're empathetic, you can acknowledge that. You can say, well, same thing, we lost a dog, but different human. Same thing, different human, right? Someone empathetic would be like, oh my gosh, that must be so hard for you. Even though in your head, when you lost your dog, it wasn't that hard for you. But you understand and you're aware that this is a different human experiencing loss. They don't see the world how you see the world. They don't live the life that you lived, and you don't live the life they live, and you don't see the world how they see the world. It's different, right? So that's empathy. It's so important, man. If you can understand people, if you understand the way they behave, if you understand how they react to things, if you can just try, you can't live their life. You will not be able to possibly imagine what it felt like. But if you can try, it will help you just be a better person. And the better you are, the better your relationships. Okay. Now, fifth stage is something called mastering human interaction. At the highest level of emotional intelligence is social intelligence. It's the ability to read people, influence conversations, build powerful relationships. People with high social intelligence have almost like a supernatural ability to understand how others feel and respond in a way that make them feel seen and heard. Salespeople, to a degree, are highly emotionally intelligent because they know how to influence emotion. They're active listeners. Salespeople are active listeners. They're building a rapport. If you're in sales and you don't, if you're in sales, you know how to become emotionally intelligent. You build rapport. You listen. You actively listen. You try to understand. You speak in a way where they're receptive. Do that to your relationships, everything will change. And it gets even better when you don't have to force it, but it comes naturally. You just ask questions out of curiosity because you want to learn, because you want to know. There's a technique that's used by FBI negotiators. It's called mirroring and labeling. Again, mirroring just means repeating the last few words someone said just to show them understanding. Labeling means stating their emotions out loud. So, for example, if someone says, I've been so stressed at work, you'll mirror and you'll say, stressed at work? And then you label. And then you'll say, stressed at work? Sounds like you've been overwhelmed. And then it builds a connection right away. Then the person will feel like they're seen and understood. And they'll say, and they'll open up, they'll be like, yeah, work has just been, and they'll just, it's so much. And Lucy has been such a pain in the butt. And oh my gosh, all this. And then now, guess what happened? They've opened up to you because you've created a bridge of trust. You're allowing them to feel seen, heard, understood. Now they want to tell you more. Now they want to pour out to you. Now that you understand emotional intelligence to a degree, I want to talk about how you can apply it. For crying out loud, people in this world need more people that are willing to understand each other. Okay? There's enough self-centered people in this world already, including myself. I'm self-centered, man. And I'm trying to get out of this whole self-centered paradigm where I'm really involved in the people that I care about. I'm dedicated, I'm involved in their life. I try to understand their life. The world needs more of it. The world will be better for it. So practice emotional labeling. Step 1. Throughout your day, make sure to label your emotions. Okay? In real time. So instead of saying, I feel bad, say, I feel frustrated. And then add a because. You have to figure out a because. Oh, I feel frustrated because I was ignored. Okay. So you don't feel bad, you're frustrated. You're frustrated because someone ignored you. This increases your level of self-awareness, gives you a little bit of control. Slow down your reactions, that's next. Before responding to any conversation, take a deep breath. Ask yourself, what is the best response in this situation? This prevents emotional outbursts. Okay, so stop and pause. If you can stop and pause, everything will fix itself. And then you can do an 80-20 rule of listening and speaking. In every conversation, try to listen 80% of the time, speak only 20% of the time. People who love those that really listen, and you'll instantly build a deeper connection. When I meet people that actually listen to me, I'm doing the talking 80% of the time. And I notice that when I do the listening 80% of the time, they talk. And they talk more because they know I'm actively listening. So if you can be that person for someone that can listen, they'll talk and you'll build a relationship. And if you have someone in your life that is that listener to you, ask yourself, how often do you talk to them, right? We talk a lot to the people that we feel listens to us. That's how we work. So I said at the end of this, I will kind of talk about 9 things to really help you in regards to an intimate relationship. So the first one is, what worked for you will not work for them. If you had a methodology and a way of facing your problems and doing things, understand that that person that's your partner has a whole different life than you. What worked for you may not work for them. What worked for them may not work for you, but at least present it. Let them do what they want with it. But understand that you guys are different. And they probably have their own way of figuring things out and their own solutions. And that's okay. Second, if you don't know why you love someone, it's definitely love. If you ever sit down and you pause and you're just so madly in love with someone and you don't know why, you just know you are, I promise you that's what love is. Sometimes you don't need a why, because it's everything. And it's so many things that you don't even know. So that's a big one. 3, love is not what you feel, it's what you do despite how you feel. Now, here's what I mean. I don't necessarily agree that love is an emotion. I do believe that love is what you do despite the emotion. So if you're frustrated, love isn't frustration. Love is, despite me being frustrated, I will sit down and talk to you. I will do this for you. I'll do anything for you. It's what you do despite how you feel. 4, both sides have a narrative, so you need to listen to really understand. If you have, and again, I know this is specific to intimate relationships, but this can apply to personal relationships, friendships, business relationships. Both sides, meaning you and the other person, the other party, have a narrative. You really got to listen. Try to see what their narrative is. Like, understand. Even though you may not agree and to you it's completely different, understand. And something that's great is when you understand, repeat it back to them and say, hey, well, I just want to make sure I'm getting this right. Boom, 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 boom. And speak it back to them. And if they say, yes, that's right, then if anything, if there's an opportunity, if you really want to be seen and understood, you do it after you show that you understand them first. So after you listen to them, after you understand them, After you repeat it back to them to show them that you understand them, that's where you can say, okay, do you believe that I understand you? If they say yes, then you can say, okay, I just wanted to show you I understand, that I was listening. Is it okay if we kind of flip it? Can I speak in? Do you think you can do the same in return for me? Is that okay? That's called understanding. And usually there's no right or wrong. Sometimes it's just important for both sides to understand each other. It's not about you being right or the other person being wrong, the other person being right, you being wrong. Sometimes it's just, I feel this way. Can you understand me? You feel that way. Can I understand you? And let's stick by each other no matter what. 5, sacrifices are mandatory. If you want to build strong relationships, intimately, personally, friendships, business relationships, sacrifices are mandatory. Meaning sometimes there are things that you may want to do, some things that you may want to talk about, some things that you may be used to. And the fact is, you have to sacrifice if you want whatever relationship you're trying to work on to enhance, to grow. It takes sacrifice from your end and from their end. And again, this applies to business relationships, this applies to friendships, and definitely intimate relationships. 6, when things get tough, you love harder, you don't love less. Okay? When things get tough, a lot of people like to withdraw, they like to pull back. Ooh, maybe I should slow down. I encourage you to love harder. Love harder. Love very hard. Do not love less. Love hard. When things get tough, you give them more. You don't give them less. Because they'll see that effort, and it's that effort that will transform everything. Okay? 7, cherish every single moment. The smallest moments. Cherish them because you never know when that person will be ripped from you. You never know. Cherish every single moment. You don't always have to be doing something productive or romantic. Just cherish every moment, every single moment with them, every moment. The smallest moments, because those are going to be the moments that you look back on. 8, make sure you acknowledge people's effort. They're trying their best, or as best as they know how to. And sometimes that may not always be your definition of perfection. It's effort. It doesn't. You shouldn't demand perfection, but you should demand effort, and you should definitely learn to appreciate effort. Effort isn't I'm going to get it right. Effort is I'm going to try until I get it right. And so when you see someone trying, acknowledge the efforts. It will probably mean the world because to them it's probably really tough. So make sure you acknowledge that. And last one, again, I talked about be relational, not transactional. A relationship where it's I'll do this if you do this, or you do this and I'll do this, that relationship will not last long. A real relationship is, hey, I'm going to do this. Period. Point blank done. I don't need you to do anything. I'm going to do this. I'm going to love you. I'm going to fight for us. I'm going to do all this. I don't need you to do anything. If you want to do something, cool, but I'm just letting you know what I'm doing. And that will help you on a long enough time horizon. Okay? So I hope this video helped you guys. Again, this is coming from someone that's had a hard time with emotional intelligence, control, self-awareness. Look, I've been all of it. I've been reactive. I've been impulsive. I've been flawed, self-centered, not empathetic. And I just hope that you learn from my mistakes. These are some of the things that I've noted down so far, some of the things that I think are truly valuable. So do what you want with it. If it works for you, cool. If not, discard. That's all I got.